Welcome back, fellow monarchs. The Call of Olympus DLC includes some fascinating god powers that are unlocked after completing each of their quests. In this video, I'll go over how to unlock each power, their mechanics, and other related secrets and achievements like a bigger pouch and the Pegasus mount. Overall, the god abilities are extremely powerful, however if used poorly can be ineffective or at worst destructive because there is some sort of friendly fire and you can destroy your own units. First of all, aside from the starting island, each of the minor islands has the same objective. You are tasked to destroy a living greed portal that is defending a ruined tholos or temple. Once cleared of greed, you can repair the tholos with builders, and you have to retrieve a golden statue or idol and return it. The statue is always located on the opposite side of the island from the tholos, and when picked up spawns a fair number of greed. Even on the curse difficulty, you can easily solo these greed if you have a good mount or god power. If not, bring your banner army along. When you return the statue, a small boat will spawn and the oracle will appear telling you to continue the quest. When you leave the island, it will show the corresponding or closest major island unlocking. It can be beneficial to get a couple of the small boats before progressing to any of the major islands, but you don't have to if you don't want to. The first major island that you visit will have the stone mine, and the second will have the iron mine. I'm not sure whether it's called stone 2 or bronze in this DLC. This happens regardless of which god's island you decide to visit first, and keep in mind that you need to have a squad with a squire to captain the ships and man them. There are 4 major islands, and after completing them, each god will grant their blessing in the form of a weapon. Artemis's quest is the top left or northwest island, and you'll receive her bow. Hephaestus's quest at the bottom left or southwest island, and you'll receive his hammer. Hermes is at the top right or northeast island, unlocking his staff. And lastly, Athena at the bottom right or southwest island, and you can unlock her shield. Starting with Artemis's bow. To unlock her bow, you have to construct a golden cage, which costs 18 coins, and lure a golden stag to the cage. The golden stag will look like a gold version of the stag mount and spawns in any of the open fields or forest clearings around the map. To lure the stag, you first need to unlock the great stag mount, so look out for the large waterfall and be sure to bring 1 gem. Builders are required to construct the cage, so you'll probably need to destroy at least 1 portal to clear the path between your base and the cage. Since you're destroying a greed portal, you can construct a teleporter and use it to scout the map for the golden stag and teleport to it. You can then charm the golden stag and it will follow you around similar to the deer. Unlike the deer, the golden stag is afraid of greed and will run away and despawn if you bring it too close to any greed or even the greed portals. This means that you'll have to clear a path from a spawn point for the golden stag and the golden cage. With this in mind, you can force the golden stag to spawn closer to the cage by running it close to portals until you get a favorable spawn. This means that you may only need to destroy 1 portal on this island and can prevent the retaliation waves from scaling. After you've cleared the way and got a favorable spawn, make sure to time when you lure the golden stag so you don't run into evening waves or bring a banner squad to fight off any greed. After it is lured, you have to pay 1 coin at the cage and Artemis will grant you her bow. You need to pay another coin to pick up the bow and you'll have finished the island. Artemis's bow is extremely powerful if used correctly and excels when paired with a good mount like the Chimera or Cerberus. However, it can be somewhat weak if there's a lot of smaller greedling and you don't have a way of clearing them out. When activated, you can fire a volley of 6 high damage arrows that cannot miss and home on enemies. While firing, you cannot move, so be careful of using it right in front of the greed. It has a medium cooldown of roughly 20 seconds, and these arrows seem to prioritize enemies closest to the monarch, meaning if there's a big wave, you'll probably hit the smaller greedlings in the front. when used on tankier enemies like the crushers, slugs, or breeders, it takes a huge chunk of their health or just kills them. Another good example of showing its damage is its ability to one-shot the boar. Overall, Artemis's bow is very versatile with no real downsides when compared to the other weapons. It's mostly good when you have other forms of wave clear. I personally like to clear this island first, as the stag mount helps with your economy, getting extra money from deer, and the fact that you may only need to destroy 1 or 2 portals. The only part that is contradictory is that despite the bow being from the goddess of the hunt, it's not reliable for hunting deer. Next, Hephaestus's hammer. To unlock Hephaestus's hammer, you need to reunite his hammer with his forge. This is probably the simplest of quests, but to retrieve his hammer, you'll have to pick it up from a boulder, and it costs 1 coin. Once picked up, it'll spawn greed, so be sure to defend. You don't have to destroy any portals to pick up the hammer, but you need to destroy portals to rebuild the forge. Before rebuilding the forge, you need to clear all the portals on the way and the one on the forge as well. After clearing out the greed, you can rebuild the forge for 20 coins and your builders will run to it. Once the forge has been reconstructed, return the golden hammer and you will receive a different molten hammer. When you activate Hephaestus's hammer, you'll spawn an anvil with fiery animation on either side, showing its range. This buff increases units' damage and allows them to set enemies on fire, which deals a lot of damage over time. The anvil persists for 20 seconds and has the longest cooldown of all the god powers, needing 60 seconds after activating to recharge. Of note, the buff also impacts units on ships and in towers. However, if you are moving, want to attack the evening waves before they hit your walls, or solo events, then it is less useful. Overall, the hammer has incredibly high damage potential if you have enough units firing through it, and if you don't need to move too far. Next, Athena's shield. Athena's quest is to grow a golden apple and involves a few steps. Athena's island starts in winter regardless of your day count, meaning it may be worth traveling there to complete this quest if you're already in winter. The first part of this quest is freeing Persephone from her prison. Her prison is located on one end of the island and you'll need to attack it to destroy the prison. When the prison takes damage, it launches greed, rocks into the air, and spawns a strong wave. If you're playing on the cursed difficulty, this may take a few attempts because the prison itself is quite tanky. After you destroy the prison, you will free Persephone and winter will end. You'll then need to take her to a large barren tree located on the other side of the kingdom. Here you'll need to construct a building which costs 8 coins, meaning you'll probably need to clear another portal on the other side of the island. As soon as it's built, Persephone and all your farmers will start jumping, hopping towards the tree. After that, the tree will no longer be barren, it'll have leaves and the golden apple, with all your farmers and Persephone having a party beneath it. After you pay a coin on the apple, the serpent or sea snake will attack. For me, the attack was quite strong and also included crown stealers, but this was on the cursed difficulty and I completed this island third, which I'm mentioning in case the greed attack scales based on some other factors. Once the wave is clear, you'll need to pay another coin to interact with the apple and 1 more coin to pick up Athena's shield. If you take a closer look at the shield, it has Medusa's head on it and the ability to petrify enemies and allied units. When activated, the head on the shield turns green and monstrous. A large beam petrifies all units hit by it. This includes your own units, greed, and even critters or deer. Of note, this can also hit floaters. Compared to the other god weapons, the shield has the shortest cooldown of 7 seconds and can be quickly reactivated to unpetrify any petrified units. The petrified greed turn to dust or disintegrate after 40 seconds, and if you leave your units petrified, their tools will break, and if they don't have any tools, they'll become vagrants. As for the critters and deer, they won't drop any coins if killed while petrified or left to crumble. Another note is that the petrification can also be undone if the unit takes enough damage. For example, I petrified a breeder that was set on fire by my Chimera mount. After a few ticks of the burning, the breeder was freed from the petrification. This is also the case at your front walls when repelling an attack. Lastly, Athena's shield is also used to unlock the Pegasus mount. Pegasus can be found as a petrified statue with a snake around its neck, but I'm pretty sure it's on a random island. Simply use the ability on the frozen Pegasus to unpetrify it. Overall, Athena's shield is extremely powerful when you are fighting a wave by yourself or defending, as it can prevent a lot of damage. Therefore, it is best used when you have a good distance in between your wall and the nearest portal. Its short cooldown makes it possible to petrify and destroy an entire retaliation wave or blood move wave by yourself. As you can see in this clip, I petrify the greed, move half a screen away, and repeat that a few times. This results in most of the tankier enemies being crumbled after leaving them petrified for 40 seconds for each group. The main downside, and when it is less useful, is when you are attacking with a squad. It can be quite dangerous if you accidentally petrify your own units. When attacking with a squad on the boat, I noticed that the petrification hits the builder on the boat. Finally, there's Hermes' staff. Hermes' quest is to unlock a wharf that is linked to the river Styx. To unlock the path, you must collect 7 souls, which are scattered across different islands. As you are traveling, be sure to look for the glowy souls floating above skeletons and pay a coin to collect them. They will appear in your coin pouch, but do not take up any space. I think the skulls are scattered randomly across different islands, but I wasn't keeping track in my playthroughs. Regardless, I recommend completing this island last or waiting until you have a good number of souls before you attempt the island. If you do rush to Hermes' island and do not have enough souls, you'll have to build the boat, leave, and return once you've found them. Anyways, if you've collected enough souls, place them at the dock and pay 2 coins to ring the bell when you're ready. Once rung, the serpent will appear from the ocean and once again attack by spawning greed from its mouth. On the cursed difficulty, this spawns slugs, floaters, and breeders with crown stealers riding on them. Once the wave is defeated, the snake will retreat, and you may notice the ferryman is now at the dock with souls on his raft. Pay another 2 coins to ring the bell, sending the souls across the river Styx, and you'll receive Hermes' blessing in the form of his staff. Once activated, Hermes' staff will blow a gust of wind and wings on either side of your monarch, converting nearby greedlings. I believe it's roughly 9 or 10 greedlings that get converted, and their purple glow converts to a blue glow, and they're given wings. They then become allies, and the allied greed will attack any other greed and become immune to your damage. Your allies won't attack them either. Interestingly, the enemy greed don't perceive the allied greed as a threat, so they often just run past them, taking free damage, and they don't attack them either. They remain converted for roughly 15 seconds, after which they return to being hostile. The staff's ability has a medium cooldown of 30 seconds. Despite seemingly only converting the small greedlings, their attacks can deal significant damage to the bigger ones. The main issue with converted greed is if you have builders queued to go cut something down, or if you have an army and they walk past them. Finally, there's Hermes' pouch. The larger coin pouch is really useful in all situations, but includes the downside of having to destroy more portals, potentially leading to more difficult retaliation waves. To get it, destroy all portals opposite to the river Styx dock. When you destroy the final living portal on the dock, it'll spit out a pouch which you can pick up for 8 coins. This will also unlock the achievement Bigger on the Inside. Keep in mind, to swap weapons, you'll need to expand your kingdom until you see a structure with 4 statues representing each of the gods. If you manage to get the god statues to spawn close to your front line, it is possible to use multiple god powers on the same wave. When swapping, it seems to have a fresh cooldown, so for example, it's possible to have a couple of anvils from Hephaestus' hammer, and possibly upkeep the buff permanently. So just some final thoughts. The blessings from the Greek gods in the form of powerful weapons are all pretty strong. In my first playthrough, I favored Artemis's bow because it's decent in all situations. After testing, I found that Athena's shield has the most damage potential if you have enough distance and time in between your walls and the closest greed portal or objective. Whereas Hephaestus' hammer has the highest damage potential if you're stationary or just defending at your walls. I found Hermes' staff to be in between, where the damage output is good, but you have to be careful with builders and your own army. Hopefully you found this video informative. It took a while to test everything and put this video together. Let me know what your favorite god power is, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer. Like and sub if you'd like to see more Call of Olympus content. I'll probably upload my full playthrough or test the mounts out and make a guide on that. I'll see you next time.